Have you ever worked with a leader that leads with fear instead of empowerment? Hi, I'm Dan Gugliotti. I'm a leadership coach. I've held senior leader positions at multiple Fortune 100 companies, and now I make leadership content for new managers just like you. Leaders that lead with fear instead of empowerment are not leaders at all. They're rulers, and in some cases, they're just managers. The true leaders are the people that allow their teams to make decisions, take risks, and make mistakes. In fact, they celebrate mistakes, celebrate failure. Rulers or managers look down on failure. They look down on mistakes. They don't even allow the opportunity to make decisions or make mistakes or fail. The leaders who practice empowerment, they might even practice something called psychological safety. This is a term that's been floating around the HR and leadership circles for some time now, but I wanted to address it today. What we used to call empowerment 5 years ago, frankly, could have been viewed as a buzzword for new managers or the rulers that we talked about before that simply don't know how to implement engagement. They would use it as a buzzword because they thought that was what they needed to be saying. They weren't quite sure how to implement it. Psychological safety just kind of brings more of a specificity to that whole theory. Psychological safety provides that space for people to make decisions, speak up, talk about something that doesn't quite align with values, fail, make mistakes. Having the ability to approach a situation and know that you can go to your leader and explain to them why you made the decision you made, even if you may have stepped out of line, even if you may have spoke out of turn, so to speak, you know that your leader is going to celebrate that. Now, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the leader. Are you leading with fear, or are you empowering people? Are you providing space for psychological safety? How do you know what that even looks like? I'll go through 5 different characteristics and ways you can implement this so that you are confident that you are implementing space for psychological safety and you're not leading with fear. Number 1, lead with vulnerability. Highlight the mistakes that you might make. Be vulnerable. Be honest. Have a little bit of humility. You might even, in one-on-ones or in larger team meetings, talk about your failures. This humanizes you. This helps you be a little bit more relatable so that folks, when they make mistakes, when they take risks, they feel comfortable coming to you and saying, hey, that also happened to me. Be transparent. Share information. Share what's happening in the company. Anything that you are approved to share with your team, I encourage you to do so. When you're transparent, it builds a layer of trust that is so organic, it doesn't come across as you're forcing anything. People just want to know what's happening, and it's your job to tell them. And if they don't know what's happening and they find out from elsewhere, that actually is a poor reflection on you. Whether you know it or not, they're going to look to their leader and say, why did my leader not share this with me? And frankly, you can ask yourself the same question. Should I be sharing this with my team? Should I be transparent about this? If the answer is yes, and you yourself feel like you may not be able to share that out of fear that there will be retaliation from your leader, I suggest you have that conversation with your leader. Empower your team. We talked about this term earlier, and we even used it interchangeably with psychological safety. That's not totally right. In fact, psychological safety may even be viewed as a branch of empowerment, but empowerment means so many different other things. You could empower folks to speak up. You could empower folks to make decisions. You could empower them to lead others. You could empower them to do anything throughout the day that helps them feel more of a leader and like they're contributing, frankly. It's okay to empower people, and it's also okay to delegate. When you delegate, you are empowering them. You are stimulating growth. But if you hoard all the tasks, you're likely not empowering anybody and you're burning yourself out. Empowering folks also builds that organic layer of trust that is so hard to fabricate. One of my personal favorites is encouraging dissenting opinions. And what this means is encourage people to disagree. Do you remember when you were doing interviews 5 or 10 years ago? One of the staple questions was, Tell me about a time when you had healthy conflict on your team. This is the evolution of that. Do you have a dissenting opinion on your team? Good. If you don't, I would encourage you to maybe even plant one, or maybe you're the dissenting opinion. The purpose of this is to simply challenge really good ideas. Poke holes in it. You're not saying it's not going to happen or that it's a bad idea. You're just simply encouraging folks to think about it from all angles, and calling back to our previous characteristic, you are empowering them to challenge ideas. Lastly, celebrate wins. Celebrate the smallest of wins. Celebrate big wins. Just celebrate wins. It's so important that people feel noticed. Again, when you think about psychological safety, you think about feeling supported. That is simply what this is about. There's a really good example that covers all of this that I heard in my master's program over a decade ago, and it still resonates with me today. An employee at an Atlanta-based Ritz-Carlton was working with a guest, and the guest had a really big presentation in Hawaii the next day. The problem is the guest left their laptop in the Atlanta-based Ritz-Carlton, boarded a plane, and went to Hawaii. So the employee knew that by building that relationship with the guest, how important that laptop was. So what the employee did was took it upon themselves, felt empowered to make decisions, got on a plane, and brought that laptop back to that guest. Now, of course, there was some coordination in between there. I'm leaving some details out. But that employee felt empowered to make that decision. That employee felt psychologically safe to get on a plane, go and bring that laptop back to the guest, because that was the right thing to do. When you have really strong leaders who empower you to do really good things, it's a lot more fun to be at work. And it's a lot more challenging and rewarding to be part of that team. There's an old adage that obviously all of us have heard, but it's so true. People don't leave jobs. They leave bosses. Don't be a boss. Don't be a ruler. Don't just be a manager. Be a leader. So I ask you, are you the leader that leads with fear? Or are you the leader that provides psychological safety, that empowers their team to make decisions, empowers them to challenge good ideas, empowers them to bring up good ideas? The ruler is one who comes up with an idea and implements it without any feedback. The leader challenges the team to come up with ideas. If that's the leader that you want to be, and if you are a new manager or a new leader and you're just not quite sure how to get there, subscribe to this channel, like this video, even share it. We're going to be going through examples like this a lot. I even have a course coming out. I have a freebie down below that if you wanted to learn more about having a really strong one-on-one, your first few one-on-ones, that freebie is going to help you tremendously. If you comment below empower, I may even make myself available for a few free one-on-one sessions.